Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Recently I had the pleasure of watching a movie called Shazam, and I think it's a very special movie and I think it's worth talking about. So let's do that.
Billy Batson, I choose you as champion. Say my name so my powers will become yours. Shazam.
Wait, for real?
Say it, okay? Say my name.
Shazam is a movie about a boy named Billy Batson who is given the abilities of the wizard Shazam. When he calls the name Shazam, he then turns into the superhero we know as Shazam. That's real creative out here. Now, if you guys didn't know, the movie hasn't really come out yet by the time I am recording this review, but they did have an early screening about 2 weeks early, so I got to see that. I got to catch that with my girlfriend. And let me just tell you guys right up front, since everyone likes their information right up front, this movie is a treat. And if you guys want to hear why it's a treat, then keep watching. But if you're not interested in the rest, well, let me just tell you right up front, go see it. But let's get into that a little bit deeper. Now, first and foremost, I have to bring up the fact that John Glover returns again to the DC universe, or the comic book universe, or the comic book movie universe, or TV universe, whatever. He comes back as another rich daddy who has afforded his child more daddy issues. So if you guys have not seen his little stint in Smallville, a very special show in my heart that I very much love and adore, John Glover does return in this movie for a, not even a cameo, but a small part as Dr. Savannah's father. And let me just tell you, man, this guy should not have kids. And honestly, the fact that his kids keep turning out bald, I don't know if that's like a stress thing or a stress-inducing thing, but John Glover plays one hell of a stuck-up dad. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Now that aside, I'd like to also bring up the fact that whoever put Jaimon Hansu's wig on, they should definitely get fired. That thing looked like a rat living on top of his head. That thing was just awful. But you know what? Maybe that's just the debutante in me getting in the way. But honestly, that aside, those are just like the two things that I noticed. I was like, does anyone else? No one cares? Okay, cool. Let's move on. Now getting right into this movie. This movie is so much fun. Man, I don't remember the last time I felt so much joy from a superhero film. Last time I felt joy was kind of a complicated area because it was after getting out of Infinity War, and I felt happy for very wrong reasons because that movie is depressing as hell if you haven't seen the ending. Yeah. So coming into this movie and just having a very positive experience and going into this and knowing that this is going to be a very happy, joy-lucky film, I didn't expect a very great family film. This movie has really great themes and it really captures the heart of family, and it captures what it means to be a part of a family and what it must feel like to be someone who has felt out of place their entire life. And the last time I saw a movie that felt that relevant in its themes was probably the first time I saw the first Spider-Man movie. A movie about a character who is truly lost and truly does not fit into any group. It's a really great inspection of Billy as a character, and we get to see him grow throughout this film. And watching him grow is a very rewarding experience because by the end, you get this catharsis and all the characters get paid off in the end. They all get their own arc, they all get to experience, happiness at the end, and that's just a very joyous feeling that you don't really get to experience in any other movies. And this movie felt very detached from all the other DC Universe films or whatever, but that aside, it's just a movie that stands on its own, and it also pokes fun at the superhero genre and the superhero comic book film genre. Like I said, this movie is a lot of fun, and I heavily emphasize that word because it's just a joy to watch. And like I also said, it's just a refreshing take. And who thought that having a little bit of joy injected into your films, not just the occasional joke or the occasional nod at pop culture, I mean just a movie about enjoying being a superhero. And we as an audience get to experience that with Billy Batson as he becomes Zachary Levi, who plays Shazam perfectly. I have loved Zachary Levi ever since his role as Chuck, and also I got a little thing for Eugene from Tangled.
Here comes the smolder.
This is kind of an off day for me. This doesn't normally happen.
Who knew that Zachary Levi could do it all? Well, this guy did, okay? I believed in him. This movie just feels special. It feels like it was made for an audience that was tired of the same old formula, and it really felt like going back to its roots. It felt like a movie that would have came out in maybe the late 80s, a family film that's oriented towards a child's fantasy. And I mean, you guys know that this movie is a huge homage to the movie Big, starring Tom Hanks, and this movie does embrace that, and it has little nods to it, and I thought they were really cute. But what it does instead of that is it also makes it its own story, and it makes it very compelling in its own ways by taking elements that you've seen in familiar superhero films and everything and such, everything in this scope of the genre, and it turns it on its head. And like I said, it does poke fun at things, and that's really fun to watch because it doesn't do it like Deadpool does it. It doesn't do it in a way where it's just raunchy and it's there to just get a laugh out of you. It really looks at things that you've seen in comic movies and you've been like, all right, there's no way that would work in real life, and it points that out and it addresses it, but it's done in a way where the character Shazam and Billy Batson would bring it up naturally, and where the characters around him bring it up naturally. And I guess that really brings me into the supporting characters, which I absolutely adore the supporting characters in this movie. The supporting characters are, of course, Billy's foster family, and they are just delightful to watch. Every supporting player in this movie gets their own payoff and their own arc, which is very satisfying to watch because all you want is for these kids to be happy and to find happiness and to find joy. And it's such a satisfying feeling. I can't stop talking about how happy this movie makes me feel. And I know I'm gassing up this film, but is it a perfect movie? I wouldn't say it's a perfect movie, but it's a really fun movie in a genre that I'm really loving right now. And you know, what is perfect? I guess this would lead me into another discussion, which would be the one supporting character that everyone seems to overwhelmingly love, and that is, what's his name again? Damn. Now, if I'm talking about supporting characters, I obviously have to bring up Jack Dylan Grazer. If you haven't seen this child actor, this kid is super talented. But in my own experience from watching the movie, I did find his character to be a little bit graining at times. I do find his constant bickering at Billy to be a little bit annoying, but nonetheless, I did love his character overall. I thought he was really great, and when he does have his arc at the end, it's so great to watch, and it's so fun to watch his story and watch his interaction and his chemistry with Asher Angel, who plays Billy Batson, and Zachary Levi especially, who plays Shazam. And it's so funny to see, you know, a child and an adult man bickering in the middle of the street on the news, and it's such a satisfying thing to watch because you know that Zachary Levi is playing this child perfectly, and it's just you can't tell that. Well, obviously you can tell that it's an adult man playing a child, but he plays it so well, and their interactions together are so perfect. This cast is just A1. Now, being unbiased, I have to leave in the fact that there were some shoddy things in the movie, like the action and the CG overall. When I watched it, it felt a little bit unfinished, and I'm pretty sure within the 2-week span from when I watched it and from when it's actually going to be released, I'm sure that those visual effects have been completed by the time I watched it. So going into that, I do think things look a little bit washed out. There's a great video by Patrick H. Willems, which is a channel which I recommend you watch. It's very, very, very special if you haven't seen it, so go watch that channel. But he does a little video about how the Marvel Universe tends to wash out their colors a lot, and I felt like this movie, in the way that they shot Philadelphia, the way that they shot Fawcett City, looked a little bit washed out, looked a little bit bland. That aside, the cinematography in this is not spectacular by any means, but the characters and the story and just how complete the script feels and how perfectly written the script feels just makes this movie so much better, and it elevates it, and all those little things you don't really pay attention to. And obviously people have talked about how Zachary Levi's suit in the movie looks like it's inflated, looks like it's bulked up, obviously, but God, you know, when they gotta make these movies, they gotta make the hero look like a hero. And yeah, it does look a little bit distracting at times, and sometimes it looks like he's carrying 2 softballs on his shoulders. But the man has done his work, the man has hit the gym, the man is getting bigger and bigger every day. If you haven't seen interviews with him recently, the guy is built like a tank. So don't worry, by the time the next Shazam movie comes out, I'm sure the guy will be able to fill out the suit without the assistance of, I don't know, what the hell's in his suit, but whatever's in there. Of course, we have to talk about Dr. Svan, who is played by Mark Strong. This movie, he feels a little bit underwhelming. I did like that they fleshed out his background a little bit, but it didn't really serve the character and his motivation very well. I felt like his motivation was a little bit weak. I felt like it was just a guy who was just too gung-ho about being evil, and I do get he had a rough childhood, you know, and who hasn't these days? But he serves as a perfect foil to Billy Batson because he is a real adult male, and every time that Billy encounters him, it's just so funny to watch because, you know, this guy obviously can tell that Shazam is a child, and not just childish, but an actual child, and it's really fun to watch the interaction. So I would say that when they are together, it's fun, but kind of a weak motivated villain, and overall just a very meh performance. So yeah, and I guess that would lead me to two kids in this movie where I'm just gonna go off a tangent and say I don't understand. I mean, I personally, I don't understand how I'm at a loss for words. I don't really understand how in movies there are these high schools and then there are the bully characters, and these bullies are so f***ing mean. These are bullies that were born in prison. There is no other excuse for them to be this mean. They are beating up crippled kids. They are beating up kids whose parents died. So on and so forth. In all these movies, and like A Wrinkle in Time, there were those girls that were so unnecessarily mean and so rude, like, hey, your dad's dead, ha! Like, that is terrible. You don't do that. No one should do that. Don't do that. Maybe it's just me. And also in the movie Bumblebee, there are people making fun of the girl because her dad died, and I'm just like, who the fuck raised you? Like, you don't do that. What you do is you talk to them, you console them, and you help them through the hard time. You don't make fun of them and then tell them they need to jump off a cliff. That's a reference to Bumblebee, by the way. That aside, this movie has that fault, but it's not really a fault. It's just a thing that movies are doing these days, and have been doing actually forever, if I can think about it. But they just make these bullies out to be worse than the actual villains in the movie. So it's just like, I don't know. That's not even a knock on the movie. That's just a knock on, I don't know, bully screenwriting. Don't fucking make fun of people for having dead parents, and don't beat up crippled people, and don't make fun of people for having relatives pass away. That's not good behavior. And that's another Did You Know? Now to wrap up my review, I would just say I would give this movie a solid recommendation. If you guys haven't noticed how overwhelmingly positive I am about this movie, this is a very special movie. You should go catch it when it comes out on April 5th. And hopefully this review will be out by then. I'm sure it will. So yeah, guys, I would give this movie a solid 9 out of 10. I thought this was very special. And yeah. What a great couple releases for DC, man. You guys are catching up. And I just caught that Joker trailer. Holy nuts, man. That looks so good. I can make a whole video about that, but I'm not going to. So, there we go. Now, all in all, that basically wraps up this review. I think that covers most of it. Yeah. Also, I added these lights behind me because I thought it might make my wall a little bit more interesting, because in these videos my wall's been kind of blank. I want to add posters and I want to add decorations, stuff like that. But here's the thing, there's like 5 people who watch my videos, so honestly, who's really watching except me? But in the meantime, these lights are there, but I noticed it looks like there's an X on my head. It's like I'm being marked for death. Departed. So I don't know. You guys like it? I don't like it. Okay, I'm just saying that because I'm insecure. I do like it, but I just feel like it doesn't really make sense. But it's something, right? Like, it adds something. No? Okay. And guys, that wraps up my review for Shazam. If you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead. It's just one click away. You can do that. And if you don't want to subscribe, then at least like the video and leave a comment. You can say anything you want. You can say, hey, Brandon, you look really tired. Maybe you should get more sleep. Or you can just be very honest and say, hey, man, you've gained a lot of weight since high school. It's okay. I can take it.
He said he could take it. That's what he said.
I thought I could, but I can't.
So yeah, go ahead and leave a comment. Share this video if you want. I don't know who you share it with, because there have been 15 other reviews out there, because people are just so quick to these days. But yeah, you know, support your boy. And as always, I will see you later.